See me. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Raya. Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming in. I know there are so many online events happening all over the world at this time, so you have the whole world to choose from. But thank you for being here on Silicon Beach special presentation for Our Sky. My name is Atula Bogura. I'm the lead organizer of Melbourne Silicon Beach. And can you admit the people via Orted while I'm waiting? Yep. Yeah. So today is a very special presentation from Our Sky. I just want to welcome you on behalf of Silicon Beach. Most of you are Silicon Beachers, nearly 90%, but there are some of you from Eventbrite who may not know about Silicon Beach. We are actually Australia's startup community network around Australia. Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, Geelong, Ballarat, Launceston, and all over the place, and we're opening some more. So our aim is to empower founders and also to make propel Australia to #2 startup nation in the world by 2025. So we are helping you to get your big idea onto the world, and Our Sky could be your technical co-founder. That's what they're going to talk about today. So yeah, connect with us on LinkedIn, chat. If you have any questions pop into your head, type into your chat, into the chat, and we will have a Q&A afterwards. I just want to mention any of you, if any of you are service providers to startups, or even your startup is a business to consumer B2C startup, we are now open for sponsorship. So you can have events like this. We have a pitch night coming up Thursday night. You can do a 90-second pitch. And we are also open to sponsorships. So, and we will have special events like this for sponsors. Contact me or anyone on the team via Meetup, or you can just send an email to siliconbeachaustralia@gmail.com, and we'll take it from there. Over to you, Aya. You can share your screen now. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Atula. Great, guys. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. My name is Varya, and today here in the room, my colleague Tan, if you can just wave. Today, we will walk you through the process of creating a digital product. You all know that Silicon Beach is on the mission to contribute to Australian startup ecosystem, as Atula just mentioned, to help founders with investments, advice, knowledge sharing. And we at Our Sky are willing to share the best practices and expertise in the field of software development, which we have been collecting for 12 years. So the content is the following. Couple of words about Our Sky, then I'll tell you a step-by-step process of creating a digital product, how it works in Our Sky, best practices. And then Tan will say a little bit from her end, will showcase how to make user stories and mockups for your project. So it will be actually like interactive step-by-step explanation to make it clearer for you. And this will be followed by a Q&A session. So feel free to drop us any questions in the chat. And after we finish the main part, we will go through the questions. It's good if you have like real questions from your real business, just we can have a look and try to answer these questions together. Great, let's get started. I hope you guys like stories, because we will start with a success story. A Melbourne-based founder once came to us with an idea about music app. Other agencies didn't get the idea, they didn't understand what he wanted. But when he pitched it to Our Sky, our designer, being a passionate musician, immediately saw how brilliant idea was. So our developers had to study scientific papers to figure out how to translate this wheel of chores, as you can see on the screen, into the code. So 6 months later, after the app was released, it got over 3 million downloads and became the app of the year and won multiple awards. So this success story shows that as a founder, you do not necessarily need to be technical. We will refer to this story more, and I will show you how MVP and mockups for this Jamn app player, Jamn app looked like before. So this is how it looks like. The app helps you to learn how to play guitar. It shows you the chores. Another success story that I want to share with you is ASOS. You might know this, one of the largest online fashion retailers. They came to our Sky with these problems. They were not able to showcase 4,000 weekly new arrivals. And they needed people to stay on the app. Their users were leaving the app. Our team started the project by analyzing their data. We found that their users mostly open the app while commuting to work. So they hold the phone with one hand. And the team created a Tinder-like app. Users can swipe right if they like the item and swipe left if they do not. So easy. So in the evening, they would be notified through email and asked if they would complete the order, which they mostly did through desktops. So this success story shows that when businesses decide to work with an agency, they become partners and they work together on business objectives to reach the KPIs that you have. So it's not just like vendor so it's not just like vendors, it's a partnership where we help you to reach the goals that you set for your business. So yeah, this is the two cases that I showed. We've done and we work with startups and we work with startups and enterprises to create digital products. So let's see how the process looks like. You can see that coming up with a new idea is easy, and realizing that which idea is good is hard. So for these slides, we assume that the founders already have an idea of the problem they want to solve with a digital solution, whether it's a customer-oriented product or it's an internal company tool. So we will not focus our attention on validating business idea or finding a product market fit. We will see how the process actually looks like. So the big picture is planning. When you have an idea and you come to an agency or your internal team to discuss the project scope, which features you want to have in the project, which are nice to have, and which are not on the scope. At this stage, we define user stories and user flow, which I will be talking later. We also choose technical stack for your project, whether you want your digital solution to be an iOS app or Android or website. we complete the functional requirement specification and walk you through the system architecture. Also at the planning stage, we estimate the project timeline and the quotations. So this is like ballpark for quotations. The next stage is design. We will create wireframe and mockups. I will talk about them in a bit. And at the stage of design, you will have the detailed project timeline and quotations, because only after completing the design and seeing all the features and seeing prototypes, it's easy to be sure about how much time will it take and how much money will it take. Then, when the prototypes and designs and styles are ready, we move to development. On this stage, the software is being developed, and every 2 weeks, depending on the team and arrangements, but usually every 2 weeks, you as a founder and as a product owner will have the working prototype with new features released every 2 weeks. So this is important to know, that after development, the process is not over yet. So a lot of times when people forget to include testing in the timeline, so you need to know that after your software is built, there should be some time for beta deployment, for users acceptance test, for fixing some bugs that if they arise right after the finishing development. And as you can see, this process is a circle, so it's not the linear process. Let's see what are the approaches to, what are the methodologies to this process. Okay, so when we on the stage of planning, we can decide how we want to approach the development. Mostly with startups, it's better to use Agile approach. I hope that you are guys familiar with Agile. It's basically the step-by-step iterational incrementals for planning and design. Both requirements and solutions evolve during the project. They are flexible and adapt based on the market needs. So usually one sprint will be 2 weeks. And as I mentioned, after 2 weeks, you will have a working prototype with added features. So on the contrary, another approach is Waterfall. And mostly we use Waterfall to work with bigger clients because they have very specific technical requirements and very fixed timelines and quotation budget. So in this case, we look at the timelines and budget, and we say what we will include in the project. We cannot change the requirements during the project, and if a client wants to add more requirements, it will cost additional, it will evolve in additional costs for them. So as a startup, you might want to adopt Agile because you want to squeeze your time to market and you want to get the feedback from your early users as soon as possible. And this methodology is perfect for that. A minimal viable product is a version of a product with just enough features to satisfy early customers and provide feedback for future development. It's not the app yet, and you need to remember that. MVP solves a core problem. And to illustrate this idea, I'll show you a couple of products. So on the left is an MVP for our Jamn player. And on the right, a final design after 9 months of work. So you can see the difference. Also, this is an MVP for Airbnb. I'm not sure if you've seen the first version of Airbnb. It looked like this. And now the website looks like this. So you definitely can see the difference. And your task is to roll out the product as soon as possible to see if there is a product market fit. Okay. The next stage after planning is design. And the first step of the design is user journey. User journey provide an overview of the app interactions, as you can see on the picture. And it consists of user stories. User story is a description of a software feature from an end user perspective. So user story describes the type of user, what they want and why. And user stories are intended to help teams and product owners to focus on the customer. So when you combine user stories in a flow, you have like user journey, and you need to be very clear on how it looks like. From on our end as an agency, we help clients to build user stories, user journey, and all the design. But as a founder, it's good if you are able to do that yourself, to make sure that your team is doing the right thing, and to make sure that you haven't missed anything, any features. When you visualize, it's easier to make sure that nothing is missed. After you have the user journey, you create the wireframe. And wireframes define the app's major components. So as you can see on the picture, you have different modules. That helps you to be clear in prioritizing, because when you have different features, you need to know what feature should be built first and what should go into the MVP. Map your user journey. So you need to have these designs and user flows and wireframes, because again, as I mentioned, you have to see where you place, what's the user journey and how users interact with it, how your app will function. If we're talking about best practices for creating an effective wireframes, there are 4 main things to remember. First, visual clarity. No need to have any fancy design, no style needed, as much detailed as possible. And after that, at a later stage, you can trim unnecessary screens. So it's better to have more than miss some of them. That's how Jamn's wireframe looks like. So very simple, only the most important part of the app. On step 3, we will work on design and style. How your app will look like what are the visuals, what are the colors. I think it's very, this step is very clear. Yeah, so this is Jamn's wireframe, and this is the final design. On the step 4, we will work on mockups. Mockup create the full experience, so your early users can actually look at the mockup and leave their feedback. So designers will define all the components and use symbols to create every UI element for each screen. So all screens with the design that you want, that later evolves into the prototype. So prototype, bring the UI to life with animations, interactive design, so you actually can interact with your app. And prototype is important to have before you actually start developing, because first of all, with prototype, you can already pitch your idea to investors so they can see how it looks like, they can click, and you save money for development. This is very common and very, very important step to have a prototype of your product before going into development. And then once you have it all, the next step is to create the development plan. Because you already have all designs and it's agreed, confirmed design, you will be able, as a founder, to see the timelines. How much will it take to create your app? How much will it cost? So if we are looking at the tentative schedule for design, so this is only for design, you can see that depending on the project, the design will take about 1 month of work. So you should keep that in mind when we are talking about timelines, because this is 1 month of design and then 3 to 4 months of development and then testing and then launch. Let's move to UI UX. So UI is user interface. It's the graphical layout of your application. It consists of the buttons, users click, the text, the images, sliders, everything. Whereas UX, user experience, is determined by how people interact with your app. User experience is determined by how easy or difficult it is to interact with user interface elements. So you can see on the picture that this is really, really bad UI design. If your UI needs a guideline, it's a very bad UI. Like make sure that your users watch how users interact with your app and make sure that UX is good. If we are talking about design best practices, two things you should remember is to follow design guidelines. So for iOS and Android, there are certain best practices guidelines that make the app easy to use, because these apps, iOS and Android, they have different buttons. iOS has one button, Android has 3 buttons. So that means that the design for the app should be different. You can see Twitter here. So they have same UI elements in different places to make sure that it's easy and comfortable, convenient to use. So keep that in mind. Be consistent, simplify users' life, amaze your users. Don't overthink, make it smooth. After planning and design, we move to the first stage, which is development. And as I mentioned before, we recommend using Scrum iterative development, Agile approach that allows you to see feature releases every 2 weeks. So if you break down projects into sprints, it's easier to follow the progress. There is a regular communication, reports on the process, frequent feedback and testing. That's how our CTO collects documentations from our developers. I really like this picture. How does the bi-weekly Scrum process look like? So our project manager, or like team project manager, and you as a founder, as a business owner, create the list of all features that you want to have in your app. Everything, nice to have, must have, good to have, something that you are envisioning in 2 years. So you create the backlog of this story-based features. Then, before every sprint starts, you and the product manager decide which features should be prioritized, which features should be built first. And then, during the next 2 weeks, the developers build those features. Once you agreed on the features on the list, the sprint is locked and you can't change it. So developers take time to create the features that you prioritized. Then those features go through quality assurance process, and then they report and test build. You can see the prototype with added features. So it's usually good to have 2-3 sprint plans ahead to make sure that team understands where does the product go, which features would be built. What's good about Scrum teams? They are self-sufficient and cross-functional. So every team has all members that are necessary to keep the project going. So it includes, development team includes developers, testers, designers, quality assurance, and we also have Scrum Master and product owner. Scrum Master works with development team, product owner works with business, with client. Then one very important thing, along with building features, it's important to have usability tests. Usability testing is a way to see how easy to use something by testing it with real users. So users are asked to complete the tasks, typically while they're being observed by a researcher, to see where exactly they encounter problems or maybe experience confusions. So this is 2 ways of testing: scripted testing, 3 ways: exploratory testing and hallway usability testing. What is important to remember when you build is, what's important to have is quality assurance after every development stage. So quality assurance is a means of monitoring the software engineering process and methods used in a project to ensure proper quality. They make sure there are no bugs in the software before passing it to the testing stage. So we covered planning, design, development, and then there is a delivery stage. You need to collect the analytics to be able to know how many users are using your app, how do they use it, how many people took specific action, like clicked your button or shared, liking, commenting, etc. So these are how app analytic looks like, and this is how web page analytic looks like. So by analyzing your data, you can make sure that no users are, by analyzing the funnel, you can make sure that more users use your app. The last but not least thing that I want to mention in this whole process, after software is launched, there are some necessary procedures that have to be done on a regular basis. And people, especially like non-technical, they are usually miss this part, and then unexpected costs arrive. They're like, how? Why do I need to pay for this? So you have to maintain the app. You have to pay for hosting and do the error tracking to make sure all bugs are fixed promptly. Hosting covers everything from storing the actual files that power your website on a server and the networking connectivity that enables the rest of the world to see it. So it's basically a home for your website, where it lives, where it grows, and you have to plan the costs for that. Maintenance activity usually covers like more technical details, such as content management system updates, plugin and module updates, backup scheduling. You need an IT team to keep an eye on the software to prevent or fix the outages, hacks, or if you spotted that your website is running slowly, that's also the sign to address it to your IT team, to your IT maintenance team. And here I want to pass the mic to Ten, so she can share her experience.
Hello, guys. So thanks, Varya, for a very comprehensive introduction of our app development workflow. So actually, I have been with RSky for 4 years, and my role here at RSky is the software consultant. So what I actually do every day is to talk to people who have an app idea, and then I'll give them advices on how you can have an MVP scope of work, the roadmap, the mentality of testing your assumptions. So that's what I do every day. And before we end, I just want to share with you some of my tips, which I think would be helpful for you if you're looking to hire outsourced developers, or even if you're hiring your own developers. I think these are some of the tips which may help you to communicate with your team better. Next. So first of all, let's start with what I get every day. So imagine every day when I wake up and I open my inbox, this is the inquiry. I would see, hey, Tan, I would like to build a membership app for my co-working spaces. So these are the functionalities I need, blah, 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 A to Z. So can you give me a quotation? Sorry, too fast. Yeah. So whenever I see inquiry like this, then I understand that maybe the client I'm right now talking to is sort of inexperienced, because I see two problems at least from the requirement list she gave me. Next slide. So first of all, there are very few details provided. For example, what is a reward system? So why on earth would you have a reward system in a membership app for a co-working space? So maybe it's actually related to their offline operations, and they're looking to digitalize the offline operations. So is this something that you have to tell your developers? What do you want to achieve with a reward system? And then second of all, lack objectives. So a lot of people do prefer writing requirements in a plain text way, saying, hey, I need a login, I need a sign up, but can you please tell me why do you need that functions in your app? Because features at the end of the day is a way to solve a user problem. And if you can tell me the objective, maybe together we can come up with better solution. And I can also provide you with my recommendation as well. And that's why I'm so eager to understand the objectives, not just about the project, but also about every single functions. Why do you want it in your initial version? Why do you want it later? So that we can be more on the same page. Next. Yeah, so this is the key takeaway. So when you communicate your requirements or your app idea to your developers or your team, please let them know why and how, because that's how you can help your team to be on the same page with you and understand your vision and mission and motivate your team to work together. Because I think at the end of the day, especially for startups, you're trying to hire somebody who wants to work together with you, not just work according to what you say. So this is my favorite quote. So if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I think it's just some sort of value we embrace here at RSky as well. And we all really want to be a partner of our startup clients. We want to have our own input as well. And we want to take ownership, like a part of the ownership of the project as well. For example, we have been working with one of our clients for 4 years now. He is from the UK, and we have been having fun trying to come up with new ideas to improve the conversion rate, the retention rate of his app. And so this is the kind of partnership and collaborations we're looking for here at RSky. Okay, so how can you explain your idea to developers with why and how in your mind? Next. So Right. So here are my favorite questions when doing service consulting. So I would always ask my clients, hey, how do you imagine your users will use the feature? Because that helps me like visualize how people will actually use the app. And in my mind, I will be having that the image of that app screen immediately. And then I can tell, like, for example, oh, here are some of the features you may have overlooked. So this is one thing that I always ask my client. And the second of all is just like echoing back to how eager I am to understand the objective of every single features of the requirement list as well. So next. So how can you communicate your idea better with how and why embedded into the some sort of requirement documents? Then I would suggest you writing user stories and wireframes. So to be honest, our team, if you work with our team, we will also provide start with user stories and wireframes. But I think for startup founders, it's also important for you to have this ability to create your own user stories and wireframes as well, because at the end of the day, you are the product owner of your product. And it is a very essential skill. You don't have to be a professional UX UI designer. You just have to leverage these tools to help you communicate your app idea. So what are user stories? So basically, user stories also words, but then they are written in a way that when people look at the user story, they will know who this function is designed for and why do that users like this function and how they will use it. So let's go straight into an example. For example, if you still remember in the requirement list, there's a requirement called digital membership card. So why would people want a digital membership card? So I try to rephrase this requirement into user story. Then I would say, hey, as a member, I actually want to view my membership details in an app so that I don't have to keep a physical card, which I may lose easily. The next day I get my card. So that's actually exactly how user stories convey the message better. It tells you the purpose of this feature and who will be using it, the co-working space member, right? So let's move on to another example. Okay, in that requirement list, it also got push notifications on the requirement list, and I try to rephrase it to, hey, as a member, I want to receive the latest news about the space so that I can get to join activities I'm interested in. So imagine you are a co-working space member. Like the reason why you want to go to a co-working space, maybe because you want to join a community as well. You want to meet like-minded people. And why you need to have push notification in the app is because I want to know like what's going on in the space. I want to join the communities. So this is how you can rephrase your requirements into user stories. And another one, reward system. I didn't really get to talk to the client about why he or she wants to include a reward system in the app. But I try to imagine in my mind, why is it so? So I imagined whenever a member sign up for membership, they will get some sort of loyalty points, and then they can use it for like signing up events or making photocopies. So as a member, I like to know the number of loyalty points I have so that I can use it when necessary. It's more like, oh, I have 30 points, so now what about I make some free photocopies? And at the same time, if you think about that way, the reward system involves not just only the space member, it also means involvement in order for the loyalty system to work. And that's why when you're writing the user stories, and then all of a sudden you can think of a lot more tiny details. So I also write here as an admin, I want to update the loyalty points so that the members do not have to come to me every time and ask, hey, how many loyalty points I have. So this is one of the way I highly recommend startup founders to write user stories themselves. And actually, in my consultation stage, I also write user stories together with my clients as well to get a sense of how to convey your app idea better. So this is the user story side. Next. And then next, another tools or another tactics I find really useful is wireframe. I think Various has already shown how a wireframe looks like, but I also want to tell you, so for example, for our UI UX designer, when they create a wireframes, they use very professional design tool like Adobe XD or Sketch. But then for a startup founder, all you have to do here is just to convey your app idea. You can actually do it with a paper or a pen, or if you want something fancier. Today, I think I want to show you a tool sometimes I use, but all of a sudden I realized that I have to take over the screen in order to show you the tool. Varya, can I take the screen? One sec. Okay. Share screen. Can you see my screen? Okay, so the tool I wanna introduce to you today is actually called Balsamic. So the tool is very handy because it already provides you all the common components you will see in an app. And let's say today we are going to show my team how the design, how the digital membership card screen look like. So what I can do, so this is an example I've already prepared last night, but I'm going to do it with you once. It's gonna be really quick. So for example, first of all, I need a skeleton, right? I need a container, I need an iPhone container. All you have to do is to drag it onto the canvas and you will have an iPhone right away. You don't have to worry about your design skills. And then think about this way, because it's a digital membership card, right? Maybe I want it to look a bit like a physical card, and that's why I'm giving it a rectangle to show that it's a card. So I'll drag a rectangle here, and then I'll think about what is the information I want to show on the membership card. For example, of course, I want to show the name of the members, right? So we have 1010 here. Okay, it's a bit small, but I would say in this wireframing stage, don't worry about the styling for now. Okay, except for my name, maybe I also want to show my membership number, AZ1. Okay. And then I also want to show when will the membership expire. Maybe it's end of this month. 2020. Okay, so this is the digital membership card. And then actually when you're designing, you will get more idea in your mind. So the idea I actually get is how about I also let the members to extend their membership on this page because their membership is going to expire soon, right? What about I add a button, I add a function to allow them to, for example, extend their membership. And what about also allow them to upgrade their membership? Maybe I'm just using the cheapest plan and you always want your member to upgrade their membership to a higher plan, right? That's it. So I think this is what you can do as a startup founder, although you don't have any design, that you're not from a design background, you're not from a technical background, but I think what you can really do is think about how you can communicate your app idea better, maybe in form of user stories or wireframes, whatever tools you feel comfortable with. Stop sharing. Okay. Varya, can I have the slides back?
Sure. We have 5 more minutes.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you want to jump on the, sorry guys. Maybe you want to jump on the Q&A because
Oh, yeah.
I see some questions on the, sorry, I'll stop sharing for a sec.
Oh,
I've seen
okay.
some questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, because we need to wrap up in, I mean, we don't have to, it doesn't cut off wire, but yeah, people
Oh,
have
that's
to
the
get back to
official
work.
ending time, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Right.
How about we answer some of the questions in the chat room? Sorry, I
Right.
typed too slowly. I tried to answer some of the questions, but I think it's easier to just answer.
Yeah,
Right. So
we can do something else because we are not on the webinar module. We are on the meeting module. We could ask people to put their hand up if they have a question, and they could actually ask. What we could do is stop the recording so that they don't have to be shy about showing their face. Can you stop the recording, someone, Raja?
Okay.